My son is deployed. He does not have PTSD, at least yet. Hopefully that will never happen, but if that ever does happen, I want to be ready, and I want to know how to respond. That's going to help him. It's going to help develop our relationship and trust, instead of further alienating him.
Hello, my name is Blake Furman and I'm the founder for Veterans Navigation Network. We're a Billings-based nonprofit serving veterans and their families all across Montana. I'm excited to get to introduce you today to our newest team member, TJ Rogers. How's it going today, TJ?
Great.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on and telling us a little bit about your story, but also some of the things you're going to be helping us work on with Veterans Navigation Network. Fantastic.
So, as you know, I'm the Community Engagement Manager, and my people group is veterans. My family, multi-generational service to our country. From my grandfather was, it goes back a long way, but my grandfather was on the Arizona the day before Pearl Harbor attack, and actually was medevaced to the mainland, which saved his life, but gave him just grief, I guess, his entire life that really impacted the family generations down. My father was Navy, served in Vietnam, my uncles. I've got lots of cousins in the military, etc. My son is currently deployed with the Marine Corps.
Yeah, and you're actually going to be you are our first non-veteran hire, and so you're really, there's a reason we did that though, and we want your perspective as a family member of service members and veterans, and so that was kind of a piece that we were missing with Veterans Navigation Network. Is we really want to take care of the veteran, but to do that we also have to take care of the family, and so I'm excited that you're going to be able to help us to accomplish that mission.
Thanks.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more? I know you talked about the family history, but why does this mission, helping our veterans and their families, really matter to you?
I'm a fixer. I'm someone who is always looking for the practical application in situations, and I'm relational. I like people. For an introvert, I like people one-on-one an awful lot. But so I guess the idea with this is being able to find practical tools, practical ways of helping veterans' families better understand and support them, recognizing the value and importance of what they did with their service, and then really just facilitating communications, conversations. It's really easy with these hyper competent military people to become sort of an island and the lone wolf kind of deal, but it's not necessarily the most effective way to approach relationship, and it can be hurtful from the other side of, why are they shutting me out, or I know something's bothering them, why won't you talk to me, and all that kind of stuff, because we just don't have those tools in normal civilian life to know how to handle it. So it's a little bit of trauma-informed care, but with the understanding that that veterans are, like I said, they're more competent generally than a lot of the other people in our society. They have taken on more responsibility. They've stepped forward in leadership roles and things like that. And so, strength-based practices, training for us, and learning how to ask good questions, and learning how to not take things personally, so that our veterans can process their own stuff, and we can have better, less stressful communications and relationships, and just kind of improve things for everyone, from wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, significant others, whatever, to the kids, because the kids often take a lot of that.
Right. Yeah, and you're not just saying that, you're speaking from experience. There are a lot of studies about the impact of military life between the moves and all those things on kids, but also just the fact that you're living in a household with somebody who might have experienced a deployment or loss of a friend or loved one very suddenly, and so that carries a lot of weight. One of the things that we're going to be launching to kind of work on this project and get that stakeholder feedback from the family members is our Family Resource Council.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit more about why VNN thinks that's important and what we hope to do through the Family Resource Council?
So the Resource Council is kind of, I look at it as a two-pronged thing. On one hand, or one prong is like we were just talking about, giving those practical tools and applicable skill sets to the support around our veterans. The other prong of it is really important as well, which is gaining the information from them. What does your veteran want to do? What do they need? What resources are they lacking? What Vet Connects would they be interested in? That kind of thing. Sometimes the veterans don't really have in mind what they want to ask us for, but their family members may have that a better idea, better picture of that. And so really just being able to communicate and, hey, would your veteran enjoy meeting other vets at one of our Red Friday events, or would they be more interested in doing something at an axe throwing deal, or doing one of our new competitive but fun events at Midwest Shooting or something like that, where it's opportunities for veterans to get together and have some of that camaraderie. We really feel like one of the things that our vets miss is having the brotherhood, the sisterhood, and having those vets that are just, you're shoulder to shoulder, you understand each other, there's no even communication necessary. And so that frustration with that when you come back to the civilian world and it's wildly different worldviews and perspectives. And so trying to gather that information from families and be able to better tailor our approach with the veterans.
Yeah, and not just get, we might have some surveys, but I mean, it's really to get their personal experiences, and not just for the veteran, but the family as well, right? I mean, we've had several events that we've offered with maybe not getting that stakeholder feedback. So I mean, we've done, Red Fridays or annual holiday party, which are really popular, to some events where we've done a movie night, thinking families would really like that type of an event, and nobody shows up, and so.
Right.
We really want to stop guessing at what our families want and actually have them tell us. And I think the Family Resource Council is going to be a great way for them to be able to do that. But we've got some pretty major events that we do annually. One is the holiday party. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about some of the other major events that we do each year?
Yeah, so in early spring, late winter, here in Billings, we'll do our big resource expo for veterans in the community, and we will have, we're signing up new service providers daily. We're looking at probably between 50 and 60 service providers that can offer different things for our veterans and families.
And the community.
And the community
right.
as well, absolutely. And then also employers. So it's kind of a little employment fair where people who are looking for great people to hire can just come have a booth and have those one-on-one conversations. We'll have breakout sessions with that, resume writing, our Family Resource Council like we had talked about, and then peer groups like female veterans and our Warrior Bridge Native American veterans and different things like that. We're working on those, and every year it's a little bit different, but that's what kind of what we're looking for this year. Then we've got our Thank You for Your Service concert in early fall, late summer, early fall. And that we just started last year. It was super cool, where we have a great band come in, and we have burgers and hot dogs and just a lot of different events. We've got a kids corner so families can come. And we had a few hundred people at that. It was hosted at Red Ox Lawn this year, and so this next year it's going to be even bigger and better.
Yeah, I think just these events have been a great part. Having been in the service, having been an Army veteran, one of the things I miss most about my military service is that camaraderie, and I don't think we can completely recreate. There's no way you can recreate the idea of living with somebody for 6 months straight, side by side on a cot or whatever. through these events, but I think we can get really awfully close because they might have not been beside us on a deployment or training event or whatever, but they've been to similar things, and so there's that almost immediate relation. Plus you can tell the joke about, Air Force, living the nice life in a Hilton while the Army vets are on a cot somewhere. So I think that camaraderie, even if it is cross-branch camaraderie, is still there, and it's alive and well at our Vet Connect events and our Family Connect events. So
one of the things I noticed at our Red Fridays, it's really cool to me to watch when you guys from the same unit, maybe a different era even, but it's like, what? Airborne Rangers, that kind of thing, or of course Marines are just, they're all the same, right? No, kidding.
Yeah.
But it's that brotherhood, and it just watching it from kind of the next circle out, seeing that immediate connection and that immediate recognition. You've got a shared story. We were in the same place. We experienced some of the same things, the same challenges, the same joys, all of those things that go into that complex military history. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think part of the Family Resource Council, you mentioned giving them tools and skills, but it's also going to be some of that education. Like my wife, we weren't together when I was in the military, so she has a very different view than, say, somebody who was married through 20 years of military service, and so I think just a lot of education can happen. I shared with you my experience, but for our viewers of, growing up, I was never really around kids or a whole lot of crying or anything like that. And, every once in a while, go to a party or somebody's got a crying kid. It was no big deal until after I went into the military, and I didn't put two and two together why this was an issue. And mind you, I've been out of the military for 10 years or over 10 years. And it just hit me one day with our own kids, 1 and 3 years old. Of course, there's a crying kid 90% of the time in the house. But it hit me one day of why it bothered me so much. And it wasn't like, it just bothered me a little bit. It was like, I need to leave the room because I'm getting so anxious and overwhelmed by, a 1-year-old crying, which shouldn't be the case, And, I think it can overwhelm parents, but, an Army Ranger should be able to handle a kid crying, And it, anyways, it hit me that the only other time I'd heard kids really crying or wailing or any of that was when we were on missions, and unfortunately, we were doing our mission and our job, and I never regret anything that I did overseas, but in reality, sometimes it was a kid's dad that just got killed because he was unfortunately a terrorist, but that was the time that I heard those kids crying and wailing and things like that, and so it's just putting that into perspective for a family member. And I actually brought it up to my wife and told her about, it just hit me that was one of the reasons that it bothered me so much, and she didn't know what to do with that info, and I probably didn't, say it in the moment in the right way. Sure. And so being able to provide some education about those types of things and ways to have those conversations, I think will be incredibly valuable. And we're actually going to be launching our first real training at our next resource fair. So I don't know if you want to talk just brief highlights about what some of those trainings will include, communication skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're also looking at the format of it. Right now, we're actually looking at offering weekly classes or groups or get-togethers, or I'm not sure exactly what we're going to call that yet, but it's much less focused on gripe sessions, which I think all of us can get into, almost want to one-up, well, my husband's got nightmares, and well, mine, blah, blah, blah. I mean, oh my gosh, we're not going to go there with that. There might be a little bit of that.
Some venting.
A little venting, but that's not the focus. The focus is, how can we be better prepared to handle those situations? I mean, sometimes there are going to be those truth moments that just drop like a little grenade into the middle of a relationship. You saying that to your wife was probably like, what is she supposed to do with that initially? And I think that's partly for the veteran too, to understand it's going to take some time to process this out and to realize the implications of that, you know, and in that moment being able to give each other the grace of, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm not sure what to do with it yet, but you know, you reassure each other that of your commitment and your, you know, we're going to figure this out. And so teaching, to get back to your question, teaching our support people, our families, to how to handle that, of not reacting, of choosing a response instead, of being able to take information and not take it personally, which is one of the biggest things that we do as human beings. Everything is always about me, right? Like, well, you're saying that I should keep the kids, or, you know, what's the application for me part of it? It's not that. That was the last thing you were thinking about, I'm sure. It's I'm being vulnerable, and I'm opening up and sharing something that, oh my gosh, this is a huge impact, and I had no idea. And so I think if we can find ways to just to help kind of smooth those conversations over, that's going to enable you guys the next time to have those conversations and to know it's going to be safe, for lack of a better word. It's actually going to build communication rather than have the family members think, I know what's going on here, I want space, kind of thing. And it's critically important. And I'm grateful my son is deployed. He does not have PTSD, at least yet. Hopefully that will never happen, but if that ever does happen, I want to be ready, and I want to know how to respond. That's going to help him. It's going to help develop our relationship and trust, instead of further alienating him from having anybody that gets it.
Right. Well, and I think it's important too for us to remember that not just veterans have PTSD. You know, there's childhood trauma, there's car accidents, there's all kinds of things that can cause that post-traumatic event can cause that stress and the reaction that often is more prominent in our veterans because of deployments and things like that. But these are tools that you can use with anybody you interact with, not just with the veterans in your life.
Yeah.
It might even help you.
Right. And I feel like, I mean, I've been through some of my own stuff, right? Was diagnosed with CPTSD. I feel like there is healing from that, and you didn't get into that situation by yourself usually, and it's frequent that you can't get out of that situation without having your fire team around you. And but I think it is definitely possible, and that's encouraging and exciting to me that this group may actually be able to offer some hope, to help be one of the resources that our veterans use to help heal.
Right. Well, I think we're excited to kick off the Family Resource Council. We're excited to see where it takes us and to really get that feedback as well as those tools out to our families. So thank you for being a part of the team. Thanks for sharing your own experience, which I know will be valuable for the families that we get to work with. And for those who are watching, if you are interested in learning more about the Family Resource Council or Veterans Navigation Network and some of the things that we do helping veterans and their families connect to resources and the benefits that they earned, please reach out. You can find us at veteransnavigation.org. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/vetnavnet. We don't share just our events, but we share our community partner events all over the state of Montana. And so please, if you're watching, reach out and see how you can get engaged with us.